Namaste, Jai Bharat. Hegel is a German philosopher, very celebrated philosopher indeed. They call him as an idealist. That's because in European philosophy, they have this, should I say, habit or tradition, whatever you want to take. In the European tradition, they have framed concepts of isms: idealism, materialism, rationalism, empiricism, etc. They used to be very fond of these isms at one point in time. Then this isms turns into frames, and then there's you find efforts from the part of thinkers and scholars to try to see a thinker through these frames. So they term Hegel as an idealist and rigorist Kant rationalist, and these things they do. And they also made a subdivision later in idealism as an objective idealist and subjective idealist, and Plato legitimately is an objective idealist given that frame. But then this question always remains to any thinking mind, that how appropriate such isms are how appropriate shall these isms be in the world of philosophy, one can think. Anyway, let's think about Hegel. And it takes a long time if you speak about Hegel, so I'm not going to take long time. I will just mention what I wanted. Hegel's reality in Hegel, the highest reality is absolute. He speaks about absolute. And the absolute, he says, is undifferentiated. Mark this point. Hegel calls the absolute as undifferentiated. Then he says the absolute gets differentiated, descends into human consciousness, and then through such descents, the whole cosmos he tries to explain. How legitimate is it to call him as an idealist is up to you. You think if he's an idealist, fine. Because I personally don't like to put any isms upon anyone. Take a person as he is. So this is what Hegel's philosophy is. And then how to explain the absolute. He makes a reverse process. That is the dialectics of Hegel. That's what he is more popular for, especially with Marx, who borrows the dialectics of Hegel and creates, mixes materialism with that to create a dialectical materialism or a materialistic dialectics. Hegel's dialectics is an attempt to explain the absolute, or it's a method that he devised to explain the absolute. So he has a program of climbing up from the mundane to the absolute level itself. Then he has this. He creates the method of dialectics through thesis, antithesis, and synthesis, and from again to higher thesis, to higher antithesis, to higher synthesis, and so on, so on and so on, till one reaches the highest synthesis, which Hegel would say is absolute. That's how the system goes. I don't know to what extent a student of Hegel would internalize it if he puts his mind into it. You can understand it, you can learn it, that's a different thing. To get it internalized is a different question, different thing, which a philosopher is ideally expected or supposed to do. Fine. Now, I would take you to the Upanishads. The Upanishads, of course, the greatest really interpreter of Upanishads is none other than Badarayana. He wrote Brahma Sutra. And all other Vedantis, all other philosophers of Bharat, they were forced to walk between the two lines drawn by Badarayana. Not that they were compelled, they could not violate those two lines. That's it. That is the might of Badarayana. Right. Even Shankaracharya wrote a Bhashya or interpretation of Badarayana Sutra, which is the Brahma Sutra. Many people misunderstand or mistake Shankara Bhashya of Brahma Sutra as Shankara authored Brahma Sutra. Of course, Shankara's Brahma Sutra Bhashya is very, very creative. That's a different thing. Each Bhashya is creative. Look at Akshapada Gautama, Nyaya Sutra, the kinds of interpretations, the kinds of Bhashyas, Tikas, etc. that came into existence. Some names are very, very, very funny. Nyaya, what's it? Nyaya Sutra Prakashini, Gudhartha Prakashini, etc. is the name they give, the interpreters give. So, what is the highest reality according to the Upanishads, given any Vedanta? Is ultimate reality Brahman? Fine. And what is the nature of Brahman? I am trying to look at Brahman from the perspective of Hegel. Yes. Then Hegel would say Brahman is undifferentiated and we have no objection to it. Gets differentiated and descends into human consciousness, right? That's what Hegel would say, because you have to excuse him, because he doesn't have that background which any of these people had. Right from Badarayana to even the youngest in Vedanta. The youngest in Vedanta, I would call who is very much alive and not very far from here where I live. He stays, Sadhu Bhadras Das ji. Sadhu Bhadras Das is very young, much younger to me in any case. He wrote that text, Swaminarayana Siddhanta Sutta, which he would call as Swaminarayana Vedanta. That must be the youngest. Before that, there is Vachinda Bheda, and so many varieties of Vedantas are there. None contradicting Brahma Sutra. That's it. That's the point. Not that they want to confine, but they are unable to contradict. So, whatever is the Vedanta, see that descending into consciousness as differentiated, Hegel said in one word, and the process, if you look at from Hegel's perspective, is at length and at large and in enormous exercise that had been taken care of in Bharatiya knowledge tradition. Of course, we don't have a dialectics to, of course, Hegel had to devise a method to explain his absolute. We in Bharat do not have a method of dialectics to climb up. We have some other methods towards knowing the transcendental, which is a Mahavakya as per the Veda, Aham Brahmasmi. You would say Aham Brahmasmi when you are instructed by your teacher, Tat Tvamasi, you are that. Then you will meditate upon I am that. No. That's a different level. So I would not like to go into the details of it. But these are all some peripheral, very, very, very peripheral indicatives which I would like to discuss. This Hegel, he appears to be one of the Vedantis. He doesn't have all that background, but nonetheless, still look at his method of. They can only call it as intuition. We will call it as yogaja. Of course, you can't say that Hegel had the ability to yogaja because he never knew what yoga is. I mean, he never knew means he never practiced what yoga is. He must have known. I don't know. So this striking parallels. A friend of me, another professor, is very in a very funny way, just to in a lighter manner says that all these philosophers of the Europe, no, he says, this is his words. Hegel, Kant, all those people, they are fundamentally from Bharat in the last birth. This is a joke he says, but the joke is interesting. They are all fundamentally basically from Bharat in their previous births. Here The people have not recognized them, or they did not get recognition. So, in the next birth, they were born in European nations like maybe Lebanese, maybe Descartes, and maybe Spinoza, and maybe Hegel, maybe Immanuel Kant, maybe David Hume and John Locke, and all those people, and even Wittgenstein. Wittgenstein's meaning theory comes very close to Protagoras and Mimamsa. So, my friend says these people were all our ancestors in their previous birth. So, otherwise, how this is why he says it, partially jokingly. Otherwise, how they are able to come so close to our thought system. Our thought system and our darshana has a definite background. We were initiated in it. We were taught. We had a tremendous background of such great scholars behind us, above us. So, one with a talent is a very funny word, but still, one with abilities, one with philosophical insights can go into expanding or going beyond what his ancestors had been speaking of, and it goes beyond and creates knowledge. And only we don't keep writing as they do. In European philosophy, publishing aspect is customary in the sense, if in academic philosophy, if you want to survive, you have to publish. Same situation all over the world, not only in Europe, has come all over the world. But you have to write under compulsion. In a way it is good, and in a way it is hopeless. It has advantages and disadvantages, both. So Hegel is amazingly closer to Vedanta in his theory of absolute. You can very easily say absolute is akin to Brahman. With all, take it with pinch of salt always, with all the what you call differences. Yes, differences. But one can easily say that. It's interesting to look at European philosophy from Bharatiya perspective. There are many. He is not the only one. There are many. I just passingly mentioned Wittgenstein. Yes, and there are so many. Some people they have already done a lot of work. People have done on Kant's philosophy of what is it? Duty for the sake of duty and Nishkama Karma in Bhagavad Gita. Anyway, we'll speak about it later. Till we meet. Namaste. Jai Bharat. Jai Shri Ram.